My name is Joe Zekas. I'm with NewHomeNotebook.com. I'm sitting here with Lloyd Gussis, who's an attorney who concentrates his practice in real estate.
Then you get into certificates of occupancy, which is another crucial one. And the problem in Chicago is that when you're doing a 200-unit project, the city is not going to want to come out every time a unit's ready and say, yep, you can live there.
I've heard that in some cases the city doesn't want to come out at all. It's impossible to get.
It's very difficult to get them out. And what they do on the big projects is they come out on floors. So when you have like 3 floors done, they'll come out. Well, people who are on the bottom floor, whose rate lock is expiring, and they need to get in, want to close. Lenders now are attuned to the fact that certificates of occupancy in Chicago may not be at the closing. That was a struggle for a while, but they finally come to the realization that everybody wants it, it just may not be. And of course, to get the certificate of occupancy, there are a number of city departments that have to come out and approve, and if any one doesn't, it holds up the whole process. In fact, I had a developer who had that problem with Commonwealth Edison, but that's another story. But it doesn't negate the fact that you have to deal with that in the contract or in the attorney modification.
What does a developer contract typically provide?
Nothing.
Nothing. So
it's silent about that. So what I typically...
the reason, for people who don't know what a certificate is...
It's the village or the city's blessing that they can live in the unit. They've inspected it, and all of the work within the unit has been done according to code, and they can move in and live there.
According to code, but not necessarily in accordance with specs or contract.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, they don't make any representations about that. But the problem is that if you close without one representing the buyer, you need some assurance that the seller is going to get you one ultimately. And you'd like to get the seller to agree that if anything happens between the...
We have, I think, a number of people going to be watching this who don't have any clue at all as to what the implications are of not having a certificate of occupancy or of being out of compliance with code.
If the city wanted to, they could make them move out and say, we have not given you the blessing of a certificate of occupancy to live in this place, therefore you can't. That's the drastic one.
That's pretty drastic.
That is drastic.
That's drastic.
So, and I actually have one now where I represented the buyer, and in the lawyer's approval letter, I had said, if the seller doesn't provide a certificate of occupancy at closing, he agrees to get one after the closing, and he'll pay any cost and expense the buyer incurs in the event that there are any penalties or fines or expenses that the buyer incurs after the closing as a result of closing without the certificate. There are some attorneys for this, there are some developers who will agree with that, there are some who don't.
We're going to lose a contract over it.
They may be, yes.
They may be, okay.
And again, 3 years ago, if you didn't want to buy it, there were 2 or 3 other people lined up ready to buy it.